Hello and welcome to NFL Nexus. You know, every offseason there's always one story, one chess match that's just fascinating to watch unfold. And right now, it's all about one guy, Mac Jones. Yep, the San Francisco 49ers backup quarterback. After he stepped in for an injured Brock Purdy and just lit it up, he's suddenly become one of the hottest names on the trade market. And this has created a massive headache, a really high-stakes problem for the 49ers front office. So what do you do with a guy who might just be the most valuable backup quarterback in the entire league? That's the dilemma we're going to unpack today, from every single angle. Before we dive in, if you're into these deep dives, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, like this explainer, and for sure, drop a comment below and tell me what you think the Niners should do. It really does help the channel a ton. Oh, and one more thing. You can also support us by checking out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, hey, even for you. The link is in the description, or you can just use the QR code on the screen. We really appreciate all the support. Okay, you ready? Let's get into this.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. This is the big question that's driving everything. Is the NFL's best insurance policy actually on the move? I mean, think about it. This is what GMs and coaches are whispering about all over the league. The 49ers, more than anyone, know what they have in their star, Brock Purdy. But they also know just how fast a championship season can go right down the drain because of one bad injury at quarterback. We all saw what happened in that NFC championship game a couple years back. Mac Jones came in and proved he's not just some guy holding a clipboard. No, he's a legitimate top-tier safety net, a guy who can step on the field and win you football games. But that's the catch, right? That exact ability, that proven skill, is what makes him so darn attractive to all these other teams who are just desperate for a solid QB. And that right there is what makes this such a fascinating problem for San Francisco.
So you might be asking, how do we even get to this point? I mean, how does a backup QB suddenly become the talk of the town? Well, it all boils down to this one number right here, 2,151. That's how many passing yards Mac Jones racked up in 2025. See, when Brock Purdy went down with that nagging turf toe injury, and let me tell you, that kind of injury is a nightmare for a QB's mobility and throwing power, a lot of people, a lot of analysts, thought the 49ers Super Bowl hopes were basically toast. But then Mac Jones steps in for 8 games, and he didn't just keep the ship from sinking, he played lights out, leading the team to a 6-2 record in those starts. That performance, over half a season, is the single reason we're even talking about him in trade rumors. He proved he could run Kyle Shanahan's super complex offense, and for any QB-needy team out there, that is a massive, massive green flag. And look, it wasn't just empty yards, you know? It was the efficiency that really made everyone sit up and take notice. In those 8 starts, Jones threw for 13 touchdowns against only 6 interceptions. I mean, do the math. That touchdown-to-interception ratio is better than 2-to-1. That is fantastic, especially for a guy who was thrown into the fire with basically no warning. It proves he wasn't just a game manager, you know, handing the ball off and throwing little 5-yard checkdowns. No, he was making big-time throws down the field while, and this is so crucial, protecting the football. In Shanahan's offense, turnovers are like poison. They kill you. The fact that Jones could limit those mistakes is something that coaching staff values more than you can imagine. Honestly, this isn't what a normal backup stat line looks like. This looks like a competent top 20 starter in the NFL, and that is exactly why his trade value has gone through the absolute roof. Okay, so let's start with what he means to the 49ers right now. Before we can even start talking about trades, we've got to understand why they would be so reluctant to let him walk out the door. For a team trying to win a Super Bowl, a player like Mac Jones isn't just a backup. He's an absolutely essential insurance policy against total disaster. And here's the official word. Straight from the head honcho himself, Kyle Shanahan went right to the podium and said it, clear as day. I'd be very surprised if Mac wasn't around us next year. Now that is a strong, public statement. And it's smart. He's sending a message to a bunch of different people all at once. He's telling the team, the fans, hey, we're solid at quarterback, don't worry. He's telling Mac Jones, we value you, we want you here. Think about it. For a team with real legitimate championship dreams, knowing you have a backup who can actually win you games if your starter goes down, that's a strategic advantage that's almost priceless. Shanahan is basically yelling from the rooftops that stability at the most important position on the field is his #1 priority.
But, and you know in the NFL, there's always a but. Here comes the classic coach speak, the little phrase that changes absolutely everything. In the very same press conference, Shanahan also admitted the team will listen to trade offers on any player. He even joked that he and the GM, John Lynch, were available. So why say that? Why open that door? Well, it's a message to the other 31 teams. It says, look, we're not actively trying to trade him, and we love the guy, but our phone is on. It's basically like putting a not-for-sale sign in your front yard, but leaving the door unlocked with a note on the table that says, make me an offer I can't possibly refuse. And that little offhand comment, that's what blew the door wide open for all of this trade speculation.
All right, so let's keep building on this. Because while the 49ers are saying one thing publicly, the plugged-in experts, the insiders who make a living knowing what's really going on, they're hearing something totally different. So now, let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the story. The view that says a trade isn't just a possibility, but it's probably going to happen if the price is right.
And here you go, a direct contradiction to what Coach Shanahan is saying. Albert Breer, one of the top NFL insiders from Sports Illustrated, a guy who is known for having incredible sources, was asked where he thinks Jones ends up. And his answer wasn't vague at all. He said, everybody, Minnesota would be a fun idea. He didn't just say, oh, I think he'll be traded. No, he named a team, a specific landing spot. Now, this isn't just some random guess. When guys like Breer float a specific team, it's almost always because they're hearing chatter from agents, from executives, from people in the know. So this creates this awesome tension, right? The coach says he's staying put, but a top insider is telling everyone to keep an eye on the Vikings.
So, why Minnesota? What's the logic? Well, when you break it down, it actually makes a ton of sense. First off, the Vikings need some cheap, effective competition for their brand new first-round QB, J.J. McCarthy. Jones has a manageable contract, so he's the perfect guy to come in and push the rookie without costing a fortune. Second, you look at the Vikings front office. They have a track record of taking flyers on what you'd call reclamation projects. You know, talented quarterbacks who didn't quite work out somewhere else, but still have that potential. And the third point is the real clincher. They literally just did this. They brought in Sam Darnold in 2024, another QB who rebuilt his value in that same San Francisco system, and it worked out great for them. The blueprint is right there. For the Vikings, trading for Mac Jones isn't some crazy new idea. It's just running the same successful play all over again.
Okay, so this brings us to the nitty-gritty, the real brass tacks of any trade. We've covered the if and the why, so now let's dig into the how much. In this section, we're going to look at the price of experience. We need to figure out what recent history in the NFL tells us it actually costs to go out and get one of these high-end backups that you hope can become your starter. Because trust me, in the NFL trade market, the past is often the best predictor of the future, and the examples here are really, really interesting. To really figure out a fair market price, we have to look at similar trades from the last few years, and there are a few big ones that really fit the mold. An offseason deal for a veteran QB who was either a backup or on his way out, but the new team saw him as a potential starter. The three that really set the bar are Nick Foles going to the Jaguars, Matt Ryan getting traded from the Falcons to the Colts, and Geno Smith being dealt from the Seahawks to the Raiders. These three deals, for better or for worse, are our historical benchmarks. They're what a team like the Vikings is going to look at to figure out what they should offer for Mac Jones. Okay, so looking at this data, it tells a really clear story. And if you're the team trying to get the quarterback, it's kind of a scary story. Look at Nick Foles. Cost the Jaguars a fourth-round pick. He got benched, didn't work out. Then you have Matt Ryan, a former MVP, but definitely past his prime. The Colts gave up a third-round pick for him, and it was a complete disaster that basically forced them to hit the reset button on the whole franchise. And then there's Geno Smith. He cost the Raiders a third-round pick too, and he was also on the bench before the season was even over. So you can see the price is pretty well established, right? A third or fourth-round pick. But that last column, that's the one that screams at you. The outcome for the new team in every single one of these trades, a total bust. That's a huge, huge factor for any GM thinking about picking up the phone.
So what's the lesson here? What do we learn from looking back at these deals? Well, there are three really big takeaways that I promise you both the 49ers and any team calling them are thinking about. First, the team trading away the quarterback has won the trade almost every single time. It's not even close. They get a valuable draft pick for their backup, and the player almost never lives up to the hype. Second, it just confirms what we already suspected. Trying to turn another team's backup into your long-term starter is a massive, high-risk gamble. And third, despite that risk, the price tag seems to be stuck right there at a third or a fourth-round pick. This history is absolutely critical to understanding the tug-of-war that's happening right now behind closed doors. And all of this brings us right here to the final section, the ultimate choice that the 49ers have to make. Do you trade him or do you keep him? This is a genuine, high-stakes decision for their front office. They have to weigh everything we've just laid out, the real proven value Jones has as an insurance policy for their team versus the potential to get a great draft pick for him, all while knowing that history says the team on the other end of the phone call is probably going to regret it.
So, how are the 49ers playing this game? They're being very, very smart with their language. They've put the word out, through back channels, that they aren't going to trade Mac Jones for some standard by-the-book offer. No, they need to be blown away. So what does that even mean? In NFL slang, a blown-away offer is a trade that is so good, so valuable, that you just feel like you have to take it, even if you really wanted to keep the player.
By using that exact term, the 49ers are sending a very clear signal to the rest of the league. They're saying, don't even bother calling with a fourth-round pick. We don't care what the historical price is. You are going to have to overpay, because his value to us right now is through the roof. And this slide right here, this shows you the whole conflict in a single picture. This is the negotiation gap. On one side, you've got what a team like the Vikings is probably willing to offer. A third-round pick, maybe a fourth, based on all those historical deals we just looked at. Their GM is going to point to the Foles trade, the Ryan trade, the Smith trade, and say, look, that's the going rate for this kind of player. But on the other side, you have the 49ers asking price, that blown-away offer. What does that mean in real draft capital? It almost definitely means a second-round pick. Or at the very least, a third-round pick plus something else of value, like a solid player or another future pick. There's a huge gap between those two positions. And whether a deal actually gets done comes down to one thing. Is some team desperate enough to bridge that gap?
So we end up right back where we started, with a choice. It's like a classic business school problem, just played out on the football field. Do the 49ers hold on to their proven insurance policy, the guy they know for a fact can come in and keep their Super Bowl dreams from dying if their starter gets hurt? Or do they cash in what could be a winning lottery ticket, snagging a premium draft pick for their backup QB, and then roll the dice on finding a new, cheaper, and totally unproven guy to hold the clipboard? It is a fascinating, strategic problem, and there is no easy answer. So what do you think they should do? I'd really want to know. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, if you had fun with this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe to NFL Nexus for more. Thanks so much for watching.